right, guys, we're gonna put on our gloves. Always making sure that you're using nitrile gloves, not latex gloves, nothing with the powder inside. You really want them to be tight. I use extra small. I don't like the flaps to be up top like this. That's weird, okay? That's super weird when people have that. Personally, you want them to be tight. You want to be able to get the stretch on the skin. Okay, so we're just going to put our gloves on. If you're putting your gloves on when you have wet hands also, or sweaty hands, it's going to be a little bit harder for you. So just making sure that they fit comfortably, not too tight, but tight enough to get a good stretch on the skin and you don't have that really weird fingery overhang. Okay, what we're going to use today on her, I've decided to choose our Ink and Arch blades here. They're amazing. This is 14.20, okay? She's got a little bit coarser hair, so we're going to use a little bit of a bigger 0.20. They come in 0.18s. We're coming out with 0.16s, okay? So it just totally depends. I love the 14 set of blades. They're amazing. We're also just going to use a disposable here. These are all disposable, okay, you guys? They're wonderful to use. They're single use. I mean, if you want to use it again, you can. I like a little bit of weight, okay, to my pens, just because that's just the way I work. It's totally up to anybody else. Again, I just popped this out the back side of it. I'm not going to touch the tip of it at all, okay? Just to make sure that everything's all good, all right? I'm just going to pop this right into my blade handle here. Again, you guys, we come out with tons of different kinds and we'll go through that. There's disposables, there's single-use ones. Again, this is all single-use because you just chuck this away, all right? I know it seems like a little bit of a waste, but we can't autoclave them. They look kind of pretty, but it just totally depends on what you want to use. I have my set here. This is just a disposable ring cap, and then I put my numbing in here so that when we are ready to go, we don't have to touch anything, all right? I have my pigments here. They're all ready to go. Again, we're going to do a little bit of Tina's Blonde with a little bump of the medium brown, just to warm it up a little bit. And she wants a little bit darker, so that's good. So we're just going to move it around. Take your Q-tip, just bend it a little bit here, and then just mix it. Okay, mix it around. We don't want to have too much pigment in here because you just want a tiny little dip. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start, okay, making sure you have a mask above your face. It's always good to protect yourself. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we have that good three-way stretch, you guys, okay? So your two fingers, your middle and your pointer, and you're going to do a three-way with your other pinky finger. So this is an awesome three-way stretch. The better your stretch, the easier your blade's going to glide through that skin, okay? When I dip my blade, I want like the tiniest little bit on my blade. Tiniest amount on that blade, okay? Now we're going to do our first cut based on the hair stroke pattern. We're always going with the same pattern in which her brows grow. So I've kind of created an invisible line coming down here in my head. I know exactly when I need to start my downward strokes, okay? So I'm just gonna start. Notice how I'm just pulling back, okay? You can't hear too much of the blade ripping through the skin, okay? Our Ink and Arch blades are really sharp. We're seeing a little bit of blood coming to that surface. That surface blood's okay. That means that we're hitting that sweet spot. It's exactly where we want to be. Again, I'm just doing my skeleton pass, you guys. We got a little bit of blood coming to the surface, and that's totally normal, okay? What's not normal is a lot of blood. The little pebble blood is a-okay. Some people are more vascular than others. It just totally depends on your client. Again, if they're on their period, if they're ovulating, they're gonna be a little bit more of a bloody, but that's a-okay. Different sections are gonna give you a little bit more of that surface blood, and that's okay. I know for my pressure, we're hitting the proper sweet spot, so we're good to go. Again, I'm just doing my outside pass. I'm just doing my skeleton pass. I haven't let go of that three-way stretch in any way. Okay, so that's our first pass, all right? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a pigment mask over this brow to make sure that we get our skeleton, okay? So I'm just gonna dip a clean Q-tip into our pigment, and I'm gonna do a pigment mask. I'm gonna come right over top. Dipping it in again. Just make sure that's all good. These pigments do tend to dry pretty quickly, but usually by the time you're done doing this brow, you can take it off of this brow. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the other brow now. All right, again, just a tiny little bit on that blade, and we're just gonna start making sure we're just kind of resting our blade on the skin here. See a little bit of bounce. Once you see a little bit of bounce, you're good. Resting it, and then all we're gonna do is just pull back, right? You're holding your pen like a dart, right? I like to just go like this. Nice, easy, pull back motion. Resting, pulling back, okay? Resting, pulling back. Resting, pulling back. Resting, pulling back. Again, everyone bleeds differently. Some people will bleed a little bit, some people will bleed a lot. Just totally depends on your client. I find redheads and true blondes have pretty thin skin, so they're gonna bleed a little bit more. Again, you're following the exact hair stroke pattern that your client has. Always checking in with your client. How are you doing?
I'm good.
She's being tough. Remember, you guys, we always want to work at a 90-degree angle, okay, on our blade. Always, always, always. We never want to be too much this side. We never want to be too much this side. We don't want to be just on the tip. We don't want to just be on the butt. We want all the blades to hit the skin at the exact same time. So when we pull the back, we get a really nice, clean line. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. Just going to bring it off the top. Again, I don't have very much in my ink ring at all, okay? My ink ring is very shallow so that I don't get too much on my blade. I want these lines to be super, super tight so that I can actually see what's going on. Again, I'm going to wrap my arm around so that I'm getting at the best possible angle so that I can give her the brows that she needs while working at a 90 degrees. Remember, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here. I want to make sure my blade is at 90 degrees every time. Okay, so this is my skeleton pass, this is my outline, this is what I want to see prior to masking. Again, I'm going to mask this brow. The right brow should be ready to go. Look at that beautiful color. Again, it's just some Tina's blonde with a little bit of the 3 bold, just to kind of bump up that color. And now we're going to mask this side and get this side ready for numbing. I'm gonna move this right on over. We finished off the left brow, and now we're just gonna take off that pigment mask. So we should definitely be able to see now the lines that we've done. Again, the Tina's line and most pigments dry up pretty quickly, but we use our trusty wet wipes to be able to take that off nicely. So now we should be able to see our skeleton pass, you guys, all right? So if I move this hair over, I can see we have all these lines in here. And now I know exactly where I need to go to do a fill and a blend and a transition, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is I am going to numb her up with that secondary numbing, okay? A nice generous amount just goes on the brow. Okay? And this is gonna sting just a little bit. Again, this just has to sit for about 3 to 5 minutes. I like to say 2 to 3, 3 to 5. But as soon as we see that skin blanching, we get that white halo, we know we're ready to go. I'm just going to oscillate it. And now I'm just going to take off this side as well and numb this side. Perfect. Okay, I'm just going to numb up this other side. Nice generous amount of that secondary numbing. We can see already from here, it's white. We're blanching. See that? Woohoo! Bye-bye red blood cells. Hello, numbing. Now just let that sit again, this side a little bit longer. I like to let this side just numb. I'll move this over to this side and then I'll continue to do this brow. We're just gonna scooch this onto the other side. We've just finished our secondary numbing. I am just gonna take that all off. See how that beautiful halo's on there? Nice. Then I'm just gonna dry her skin with a Q-tip just so that nothing's too wet, so that it'll interfere with my three-way stretch. Okay, you guys, we can tell that we have beautiful hair strokes in here, right? What we're gonna do is now we have our skeleton pass, and we're just going to reinforce some lines and put some new lines in just to fluff that out. So I'm just gonna dip my blade in again, and we're just gonna come in here. Remember that beautiful three-way stretch I was talking about? Here we go. Do you feel it?
No, not really.
Not really?
No.
Takes the spice away just enough for them to be comfortable. Right? We're gonna come in here. Just gonna fill these in right where we need to, okay? Beautiful. We're gonna reinforce a couple lines. So when I say reinforce, we're just gonna take a little bit. We're not even adding any pressure. We're just simply filling in the lines with some more pigment. Again, barely any pressure. We're just filling in that line. Again, a lot of people are like, oh, you should be able to hear it, you should be able to hear it. Not really. I mean, you don't want too harsh of that zipper sound. That just means that your blades are really dull, and either you're on the tip or the butt end of your blade, okay? So that's perfect for my second transitional pass. I am just gonna mask this one more time, and this brow is pretty much done, right? So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna flip this. Push that down, flip this side up, and we're going to continue on the left side. We're just going to check out our lines. We have to reinforce a few, go in between a little bit. but we have our skeleton pass and it is beautiful. So I'm gonna come in here. See these lines? You can kind of open up the skin, close it, open up, close it. I'm just gonna come in here. I'm just gonna lightly, very lightly, very no pressure, put pigment inside the lines where I know I need to. Where they're just showing up a little bit too light. We're just gonna go through that brow. Adding strokes where we know we need to. How is this feeling?
Good. I can't feel it.
Can't feel a thing. Awesome. So this side got a little bit more numbing than the other side. So you just want to make sure your client's comfortable, okay? If you want to leave that numbing on for an extra 2 minutes, do it, just to make sure your client is comfortable. Always getting yourself into a position where you know you are going to be able to perform microblading to the best of your ability, meaning 90-degree angles on that blade all the time, okay? And having your 3-point stretch, super important. So now we're just gonna come in between some of these lines, right? Making sure we have a good spine, making sure everything flows really nicely. All right, that's our second pass, okay? That's kind of what we want to see, not too much pigment. A nice little reinforcement pass, and then we mask, okay? Pushing it in, ribbing it back and forth, getting that pigment into those lines. Okay? So I'm just gonna come over here, flip this over, right? Woo. There we go. All right, guys, this is the exciting part. We're gonna wipe away these brows, okay? All right. Again, if you guys have trouble getting this pigment off, green soap works so amazing. Half green soap, half water. It's just the best combo ever. All right. We're just gonna try and get that off her skin as much as possible. Hit up that other side. So you can tell that there's still some pigment getting off her skin that we need. We don't want to keep that orange on her skin. And sometimes even though I'm rubbing, it's just not coming off that well. I use green soap. It's amazing, okay? And I just squirt just a tiny little bit onto this. And we're gonna just rub, and it's gonna take it right off. See how that's coming off all so nicely? So it's half water, half green soap, and it just takes everything off without having to rub the skin, or we don't want to irritate the skin any more than we have to. I'm gonna take a look at those brows. They're looking great. I just want to put a little bit more here. Reinforce this arch, just 1 or 2 strokes on this side, but I think those are awesome. Don't be afraid to go back in as many times as you need to, but you don't want to numb the skin too much. She's probably going to start to feel it around here. Just don't feel like you have to numb the skin. Again, numbing the skin too much is going to cause the skin to go very, very hard. But I think at this point, we're pretty good. I'm just gonna mask that area a bit here. I'm gonna mask this side one more time. Just a couple minutes here, not even. Yes. I love seeing this nice warm brown color. I know it's not going to heal too cool on her skin. Again, she does have really cool undertone, so adding a bit of a warmer color is just going to heal up super nice. This color is matching her natural brow hair, which is amazing. What I like to do, you guys, is again, I just like to just drape a nice wet wipe over top of her brows. And just, it's almost like when you go to the hairdresser, okay? And they give you that nice scalp massage when they're washing your hair. It's kind of the same thing, but you're just lightly giving them a brow massage, collecting any of that lymph that's coming to the surface, right? Lymph is essentially white blood cells that come to the surface. Sometimes people find that they, it's a bit wet. It looks like your brows are sweating. Don't worry, you guys, that's totally normal. Some people have more lymph come to the surface than others. Usually when you're adding shading and stuff like that is when the lymph will really start coming to the surface. Just know that that's totally normal. I love doing this because if you can tell, if you're just to have your client sit up, they still have that on their brows. So then we're just gonna come in, fold that over, just do that one more time to finish it up. The next thing what we're gonna do, you guys, is we're going to use a Q-tip again, and we're just gonna numb up that area to get that white halo to take our amazing pictures. So we have a beautiful set of eyebrows here. Woohoo. Then you can show your client, and if there's anything she wants or needs, then you can adjust that then. We're gonna wait about 30 seconds to get that halo around here, and then we're pretty much done. These are gonna be done, signed, sealed, delivered, beautiful strokes. I'll show you what this looks like. I'll get her to sit up. She can check out her brows, making sure that everything's good, everything's sitting where we need to when she actually sits up. So if her face kind of falls, if one corneal muscle is higher than the other. We did check that out for her, a little bit of that pre-consultation prior to her brows. So we should be good to go there. But you can tell these are starting to numb up. Sometimes you'll find though that blood will start to come to the surface. The red blood cells will come up, the white will go. So that's totally normal. So I'm just gonna wipe this away. We have that nice halo. Okay. Now you can take your after pictures, as many as you want. Take like 20, take 30 if you need to. Get every single angle so that you can get that perfect Instagram ready photo. It's so important to show your work, to build your portfolio. It's just so important. So now I'm just gonna pull back the hairs. You can see how crisp those strokes are. They're not overlapping. We have a beautiful seam in here, right? We are good to go.